What's going on, brothers? Matt Deegs here with another video. Appreciate you guys for popping in. Today, I want to talk about the fastest way to level up your classes and weapons in Space Marine 2. Right now in 2026, before the big patch 12 drops and before the Tech Marine comes out, all right? This isn't beginner advice, and this isn't theory crafting. This is what actually works if your goal is XP per hour. If you're trying to max classes, finish weapon mastery trees, or prep weapons for upcoming content, this is how you do it as fast as possible in 2026. In this video, I'm going to walk you through how XP actually works in Space Marine 2, why some modes and difficulties are way more efficient than others, and how to avoid the biggest time-wasting mistakes I see people make when they're trying to level up fast. We'll talk about mission selection, difficulty choices, smart ways to stack bonus XP, and how weapon mastery really fits into all of this. And we'll also cover where newer modes like Siege mode and stratagems fit into the XP farming. Guys, if you're looking to get stronger without burning yourself out on pointless grind, this is how you do it. So don't forget to like, subscribe, and let's begin. Now, let's hop into the mission terminal here. Now, there will be things that I will be saying for newer players or beginners. So if you are a veteran, just definitely bear with me here, guys. But there are things you need to understand in Space Marine 2 about XP. And really how it works. So a lot of people assume it's all about kills, but that's not actually true. Most of your XP comes from finishing missions, not clearing every enemy on the map. I actually get quite a few comments on this in my comments, my live stream. So because of that, operations are still hands down the fastest way to level both your class and your weapons. Operations are structured predictably, okay? And once you learn the flow of a mission, you can clear them quickly and consistently and efficiently. Missions like Decapitation and Inferno especially good because they're straightforward, they don't have a lot of downtime, and you can develop a fast route once you run them a few times. However, there is an operation that I actually think is the fastest operation in the game if you fast track in certain areas. And this operation is Vox Liberatus. Now, you might think, oh, this is crazy. It's a pretty long mission. There's so many things you got to do, right? No, there are almost 4 areas in this operation that allow the player to fast track, to just get to the elevator shaft, to get to the gate, to get to wherever the end area of the certain sector is, and the gates will close, the elevator shaft will start moving. You can bypass so many enemies and so much headache just by fast tracking. Again, if your goal is to just enjoy the game, kill some Xenos, kill some filthy heretics, completely understand, take your time, kill each enemy one by one, go for it. But if your goal is to maximize XP and to farm XP, level up your classes, level up your weapons, then trust me guys, Vox Liberatus is the mission to choose. Again, Decapitation and Inferno work fantastically, but Vox Liberatus, in my opinion, is the fastest mission if you fast track. Let's hop into Vox Liberatus before we go into all the other strategies to use. But let's hop into Vox Liberatus. Don't worry, we're not going to play the whole operation. I'm just going to show you key areas where you can fast track and avoid all the enemies and all the headaches. All right, so let's jump into that now. All right, brothers, so the first area that you can fast track is actually right at the beginning of the operation. Now, obviously, you can pop a few shots off if you want, right? You can kind of move things along, but you want to be getting to the elevator shaft at the end of this sector, okay? I'm gonna break them down into sectors, all right? So fast track as fast as possible to the end of this area. Don't worry about the enemies, okay? Just fast track as fast as possible if you want to complete this operation as efficiently as possible. Now, keep in mind that if you're playing with real people, obviously, they might not want to, follow this tactic of yours. So, unfortunately, there's going to be instances where, you're at the elevator shaft and they're still fighting at the very beginning of the map, right? So there's going to be instances of that. And unfortunately, try your best to communicate. However, if you encounter, teammates, one or both of them that don't want to, fast track and just want to, kill every enemy in sight, then that's unfortunate. You're going to have to stick around, right? But If you are playing with bots or you're playing with people that you know, fast track to this elevator shaft. Make sure all your teammates are on the elevator. Make sure there's no enemies on it. Right? We're still waiting for one. Boom, that'll come up. Just kind of play around here. Hit the elevator shaft button. Interact. And you're good to go. All right. All those enemies, whether they're extremists, majoris, minoris, will be left behind. All right. This guy throws a grenade. Beautiful bot. Now, keep in mind, if there is a terminus, if you do, roll the dice and you're unlucky enough to get a terminus right at the beginning, I don't think that's possible. But if it is, unfortunately, you can't fast track. You can't fast track when there is a terminus on the field. All right. So just keep that in mind. So this is another area, and fortunately you get two areas back to back that you can fast track. So when you hit your floor here, right, you get off the elevator, I would say take the time to look in this area because there might be a gene seed. So just look around, take the time, look around, see there's a med kit. So there's always something here. So I would take the time to look there. But ultimately, guys, if you don't encounter a terminus, you can fast track this as well. I also take the time to look in here as well. Nothing, unfortunately, but take the time to look in those areas, and then when that's done, fast track to the big doors, the two big gates at the end of this sector. Now, keep in mind that you might encounter an extremist or two. You might encounter some majoris depending on what you are playing. I'm just playing on, I think it's ruthless, just to kind of show you guys how it works. So I didn't want to put on absolute and get absolutely bombarded. But make sure you check this area too, guys. There's going to be lots of goodies here. Always a med kit right there, 99% of the time. So once you get those goodies, guys, you just head to this big door right here. Make sure you are on the bottom of the stairs because the gates won't close if you're at the top, at least from my experience. Also worth noting, check back there because there's oftentimes a gene seed back there, which we'll be talking about gene seed in a second, guys. Another med kit, so I can't grab that, but med kits galore. We'll talk about gene seed in a second, guys, but the goal, you want to get to this door. You want all your teammates to join you at the end and the bottom of the stairs. Make sure you kill all the enemies as best as you can, right? You want to make sure if you're playing with bots, push yourself down so it forces them to come down. And the doors should close. There you go. So finish off the rest of the enemies. Now, remember, this cannot be done if there is a terminus on the field, okay? It just cannot be done. You have to eliminate the terminus threat before those gates will close, okay? So just keep that in mind. I'm going to get this guy off. Done. Beautiful. Okay. And then you're good to go to take out the sorcerer beyond this area here. Now, unfortunately, with this area, there's really no fast tracking. You have to, pretty much stay within this circle and let the shrine kind of do its thing. And once it's done, try to hit this immediately, kill the sorcerer, and you'll able to go through this area right here. Now, you're probably going to encounter, if you didn't encounter a terminus in the prior sector, you're probably going to encounter a terminus here, unless you're playing on a lower level difficulty. But we'll talk about all that, all difficulty progression and all that good stuff later on in this video. But again, guys, in this area, there's nothing really you can fast track. Just try your best to stay within the circle, get it done as fast as possible, and move on to the next area. So once you eliminate the sorcerer and you get the shrine rectified there, you can pass through these doors. Make sure you kill all the remaining enemies. And then the next sector, you're going to have to do the exact same thing. So you're going to have to stand in the middle of the shrine there and purify it. So once it's purified, destroy the altar and move on to the elevator shaft because the door will close. Don't forget to hit the ammo or the weapon drop here, guys, and make sure you get full ammo and then you move on. All right, guys, so let me just show you quickly here. Make sure you look around. There's sometimes gene seed or some crates here or over there. So just look around, guys, and let's fast track this as fast as possible for you. But keep in mind, again, you're gonna have to make sure this altar is purified, and then once that happens, you're gonna run to the elevator shaft. But I'm gonna fast track here so you don't have to worry too much about that, and I will see you in a few moments. Alright, guys, so we got the altar down pretty quickly. Once you're done that, make sure you interact as fast as possible and make your way quickly as fast as possible. Make sure you grab little goodies here, right? Why not? and then make your way to the elevator shaft as fast as possible. Again, if there's a terminus, you're going to have to take out the terminus, but if there isn't, just get there, guys. There's no point in fighting. If you're playing on absolute, once you take out that altar, oftentimes a couple terminus pop up. Make sure you look here too, guys, as well. Sorry to cut me off there, but make sure you look there for a gene seed. There's oftentimes a gene seed there. But again, make your way here. In higher level difficulties, you're probably going to encounter a few terminus stragglers here. Extremist stragglers here, like a Terminator. Just bypass them, come here, elevator shaft will close, interact, leave those suckers behind, give them a for the Emperor and move on, right? Saves you a bunch of ammo, saves your health, and keeps you in the fight longer. So again, guys, we've already encountered 3 fast track areas, okay? But there is actually more. Now, this is an area that I see a lot of people, take their time and fight every single enemy. Now, it's kind of frustrating because they literally tell you in the dialogue, which you're going to hear, very shortly, that, there's no need to fight, right? Move forward. So you're going to hear it soon. So as you can see here, so little enemies, so little time. Every class says something different, but basically they're insinuating that there's no point. Just move on. There's no point in fighting here. So honestly, guys, it's great advice. Just move on. Get to the elevator shaft. Again, if your goal is just to kill every single enemy, every single Xenos, every single heretic, I get that. I completely respect it. If your goal is not to farm XP as fast as possible, then you're going to want to do that. But if you just want to, fast track every operation, then Vox Liberatus, in my opinion, is the best mission to do it because there's just so many areas for you to fast track, all right? Another example is right here, okay? So I'm just going to fast track and not waste any time. I'm just going to get to the elevator shaft, make sure, all your teammates are with you, assembled on the elevator. Otherwise, the gates will not close, all right? So I'm just going to try my best to force everybody on. Tyranids and Chaos are fighting each other. We're going to hit interact, and all those suckers are left behind. Let them fight it out. Now, in terms of this area, there's really nothing you can do. You just got to stay on the elevator and try your best to stay alive, all right? So I'll see you guys shortly. Okay, guys, so now here, basically it's the end of the operation, and there's really nothing to be said here. There is, various altars that you have to take out for the demon to be eliminated. So, unfortunately, there's no fast tracking here. However, it could be done very quickly, very efficiently. So, truly, guys, again, like I said, this mission, this operation, if you fast track in the right areas and you play it smart, you can really get this done very efficiently and quick, all right? So in my opinion, yes, I know Decapitation and Inferno are also very fast in their own respect, so they're great options as well, but I actually think Vox Liberatus is just a little bit faster and more efficient to complete. All right, guys? I'll see you in the next scene. Now, we were able to complete it, but there is one more screen I want to show you before we continue on in this video, before we go into all the other strategies to help you farm XP. Now, there's going to be a screen that's going to pop up that's going to compare you with your other teammates, whether they're bots or real people, and it's going to show you, who had most range damage, who had the most melee damage, who picked up the most, who went down the most, whatever, right? If you are in first place, or if you have the most melee damage or the most range damage or whatever it is, you'll see a little yellow highlight upon your row, and that's going to give you a small bonus of XP. Okay, now keep in mind I did not find the Gene-Seed, and we'll go into the Gene-Seed in a second, but that'll grant you even more XP. But keep in mind the screen that I'm about to show you. So I was playing with bots, so For me, I was able to get them all. I got kills, special kills, melee damage, range damage, items found, damage taken, and incapacitations. I did not get teammates down. One of my bots rezzed the one teammate down. So you get bonus XP. You get 10 bonus XP for each. So this is where you want to be, really challenging yourself and push yourself to be the best on the field. All right, guys. So now let's get into choosing the right difficulty. Okay, so difficulty selection, it's one of the biggest factors in how fast you level. Higher threat levels give noticeably more XP, but only if you can clear them consistently, right? So keep that in mind, guys. The biggest mistake I see people is forcing the highest difficulty when they're not ready for it. If you're wiping, going down constantly or falling, in missions, you're actually slowing your progression down considerably. If you're a veteran in this game, most of us play on absolute, and that's just the way it is. We very rarely drop down to even lethal. I know for myself, I find the lower level difficulty just a little bit boring. However, if I'm starting out and I'm playing with a level 2 or level 3, whatever class it is, whether it's going to be the new Tech Marine coming in patch 12, Vanguard, Bulwark, whatever it is, then I would probably play at a lower level difficulty because I know I'm not going to be able to beat absolute, especially when I have nothing fully leveled up. My weapons are, still in the bottom tier, and I got no perks available. So playing on absolute would honestly be a big waste of time because I wouldn't clear it. So to sum this up, the sweet spot is always the highest difficulty you can beat reliably. If that's, lethal or absolute, then that's fantastic. You're going to level up way faster. If that means you're playing on substantial or ruthless, then it's going to take you a little more time, but at least you're clearing the mission, the operations, consistently, rather than jumping in absolute or lethal, not clearing it, and barely getting any XP. All right. And if it means that you're on minimal or average, if you're a brand new player and you're playing on minimal or average, do not feel bad. Trust me, I was there. We were all there. You will get better, and you will be playing on absolute in no time. But let's move on to the next strategy. Okay, Gene-Seeds, all right, because they are free XP if you play smart. Now, if you're serious about leveling fast, you should be grabbing Gene-Seeds every single run. They're basically a free XP bonus at the end of a mission, but only if you survive with them. Okay, the trick is knowing when to grab them and who should carry them. I like to grab the Gene-Seed early if I can find them, then play a little more conservatively afterward, all right? If the carrier goes down, the bonus is gone and cannot be brought back, all right? So the carrier needs to be protected at all costs. That means the carrier gets the, all the goodies. If the carrier wants a med kit, goes to the carrier. If the carrier is low on health, and if there's all three of you guys are low on health, but the carrier of the Gene-Seed, needs it as well, then the med kit goes to the carrier of the Gene-Seed, all right? That's just the way I play, in my opinion. They must be protected at all costs, all right? If there's a armor bonus, it goes to the carrier of the Gene-Seed, all right? So over time, those bonuses add up way more than people realize, especially if you're playing on, lethal or absolute. They really stack up. So again, take the time, look in the certain areas. I'm not going to go over every single area in the map, but they are, they're hidden. They're in the corners of the map. They're behind, certain little kind of boulders. Sometimes they could be behind pieces of debris. Sometimes they could be behind walls. Sometimes they could be behind breakable barriers. It really depends, guys. They can be behind barrels. Take the time, look, all right? And you will get accustomed to where they're placed on the map. But look for them. They're worth it. So before we move on to the other modes like siege mode and stratagems, let's just quickly do a quick overview. With absolute, you're going to be getting 4,160 XP. That's not counting Gene-Seed. That's not counting, all your additional XP you get if you are top of the squad for things like melee or executions or whatever, right? Range damage, like I showed you on that screen there at the end of the victory screen. But there's also another small way to grant a little extra XP. And unfortunately, because I played the Operation Vox Liberatus to kind of give you guys a walkthrough, that little bonus XP on the quick match tab is not there, but you will see a little sign at the corner of the quick match rectangle here, wherever you want to call it, quick match button that'll grant you bonus XP if you click quick match. The only downside of this is that you don't know what operation you're going to be dropped into. Is it going to be one of the easier ones and the quicker ones like Vox Liberatus, Decapitation, or Inferno? Maybe. Those are three of them, so your chances are decent, but it might be the other ones, right? It might be Fall of Atreus or Reliquary or Obelisk or, whatever, Vortex, and they're a little bit longer. However, if you do complete it and in good time, because every single operation does have certain areas that you can fast track. Again, Vox Liberatus is the fastest one to fast track, but everyone has a fast track available, whether it's getting to the doors, getting to the elevators. So again, quick match is another option for that small extra bonus of XP. However, if you wanted to play it safe and just wanted to click on it, you're not missing too much. But let's move on to siege mode and stratagems. Now let's talk about siege mode. So one mode that doesn't get talked about enough when it comes to fast leveling is siege mode. And honestly, it's one of the most reliable ways to farm XP once you know how to run it. A lot of players who've optimized their grind have found that completing the first 5 waves on hard siege mode and then returning to the barge is incredibly efficient. You can consistently pull roughly 4,000 or so XP in 15 to 20 minutes doing this, which compares very favorably to some operation runs, especially when you factor in that you're also stacking weapon XP at the same time. Sieges are straightforward, predictable, and once you've learned the wave composition and optimal routes, you can repeat them with almost machine-like consistency. Because it's shorter and more controlled than some longer operations, you end up with less downtime, or considerably less downtime between runs and fewer random deaths, which means more XP per hour overall. For anyone grinding classes and weapons, siege mode isn't just fun, it's legitimately one of the best ways to level up quickly. Again, both for your class and for your weapon. Now with siege, you got the option to play in normal, or you have the option to play in hard mode, all right? And while normal is totally fine if you're still gearing up or learning wave patterns, hard siege is where the XP really starts to shine. The jump in rewards is noticeable, and once your build is in a good place, hard siege doesn't feel nearly as punishing as a full high difficulty operation. What I like about it is that the pressure comes in short, manageable bursts. You're not committing to a long mission where, you're committing to a handful of waves, and once you hit that sweet spot, you can extract if you wanted to. Bank your XP, and really just jump back in, rinse and repeat. Another big reason Siege works so well for leveling is how consistent it is. There's no hunting objectives, no getting slowed down by bad routing, and no awkward pacing issues. You're constantly fighting, constantly using your weapons, and constantly earning progress. That's what makes it especially good for weapon XP and mastery, because you're actively engaging the whole time instead of sprinting past half the map. Once you find a rhythm, especially stopping after the early wave breakpoints, Siege becomes a very clean loop. Load in, clear waves, extract, repeat. If you're the kind of player who likes efficient, repeatable grinds without a lot of randomness, Siege mode is honestly one of the most comfortable ways to level in the game right now, and in preparation for patch 12 and the tech break. Okay, so now we have stratagems mode. So with stratagems mode, this is where I want to be very clear, because I see a lot of people misunderstand what this mode is actually for. Stratagems are absolutely one of the highest reward ways to earn XP and endgame gear in Space Marine 2. And they also come with bonus accolade points that you can get from completing, the daily stratagems and the weekly stratagems. Obviously, the weekly stratagems will have way more. So, this week was Inferno. So the normal weekly stratagem has 150, and the hard, which I was able to beat. If you haven't checked out that video, guys, go check out how to beat week 22 hard stratagem if you haven't done so yet. But this one gives you 200 accolade points, which you can use to get heroic weapons. But let's continue. Stratagems are absolutely one of the highest level ways to, or highest reward ways to earn XP and endgame gear in Space Marine 2, but they are not designed as a casual leveling grind. This is endgame content and it plays like it, okay? It's not easy. These battlefield conditions are no joke. The XP and accolades you can earn from stratagems are very real, especially from the daily and weekly challenges, like I mentioned earlier. But the trade-off is risk. These missions are heavily modified, enemies hit harder, and the margin for error is way smaller. If you fail a stratagem run, you're not just losing time, you're losing a lot of potential progress. That's why I don't recommend jumping into them too early into your Space Marine 2, experience and career, because you've unlocked the mode, all right? Difficulty is the big thing to understand here. Even normal stratagems are significantly harder than regular operations if you run the same difficulty, for example. They're closer to what most people would consider substantial or ruthless, right? The normal mode. But however, you're adding in a bunch of battlefield conditions. So let's go over this week's battlefield conditions just for example. If you're new to stratagem, if you're new to Space Marine 2, this will give you a clear example, right? So you're running Inferno, which is a basic operation you would find in the operations tab. But look at the battlefield conditions. So number one, we have buffed enemies. So enemies have increased health and damage. The second battlefield condition, so some battlefield conditions are in your favor and some are against you. So the second battlefield condition is in your favor, so you do not lose control upon taking heavy hits and you cannot be knocked back. Number three, press the attack. Not performing a finisher for 20 seconds will start draining your health down to 30%, but finishers restore health. Then we have close in, so range damage is greatly reduced, but melee damage is increased. So because of these battlefield conditions and increase in difficulty, my honest advice is this, okay? If you're planning to run hard stratagems or really any stratagems to be clear, you should already be, at least level 15 and beyond with your weapons fully leveled and perked out. At that point, stratagems become, incredibly efficient and doable. The modifiers can actually work in your favor. Things like increased range damage or altered enemy behavior can let a strong, coordinated squad absolutely melt content and walk away with massive XP in short time, with the bonus of the accolade points, so you can unlock heroic heroic weapons and heroic skins. So definitely worth doing if you're beyond, in my opinion, level 15 to 20 in your class. However, if you're not there yet, stratagems can actually slow you down. Like I mentioned earlier, wiping repeatedly or struggling through runs that barely succeed isn't efficient, and it's rough on teammates too. In that case, you're far better off sticking to operations or siege mode until your build is ready. Stratagems shine when you're already strong, all right? Or you're midway through leveling your class. They're a way to finish your progression, not start it. All right, so think of stratagems as a high-risk, high-reward accelerator. When you're prepared, they're one of the fastest ways in the game to cap out classes and weapons. When you're not, they're a trap that wastes time. Knowing when to step into that mode is just as important as knowing how to play it. Guys, one of the best ways to speed up weapon progression in Space Marine 2 is through something called Armory Data. So you can see here, under rewards, you have your XP, then you also see discoverable Armory Data, okay? Now, let's go over this a little bit. These are collectible, glowing red-eyed serval skulls hidden throughout operations that you can pick up to upgrade weapon tiers. Each mission guarantees at least one spawn, and on top of that, some mini bosses like Terminus level enemies can drop a second piece, which is a nice bonus if you're running higher difficulties. The key thing is that you have to complete the mission to actually keep the data. If your squad wipes or fails, all the collected skulls are lost. So planning your run and keeping everyone alive is crucial. The location of these skulls are set, but can feel random at first. They're often tucked into corners, behind crates, inside rooms, or near dead bodies, and maps like Inferno or Decapitation have them scattered around objectives or hidden in more open areas. From my experience, the player who grabs the skull secures it for the whole team at the end of the mission. So coordinating who picks it up is helpful, especially if you're trying to maximize your rewards without wasting time. Another important factor is difficulty. The higher the operation, the higher the difficulty, the better the quality of the data you collect. On hard or absolute or even lethal, you're more likely to get mastercrafted, artificer, or even relic level armory data, which makes a huge difference if your goal is fully leveling your weapons and unlocking all their perks. Combining this with strategic use of mini bosses makes certain operations not just XP runs, but also the fastest way to get your weapons maxed out without grinding endlessly. So in short, if you want to level weapons efficiently, I treat armory data like a hidden bonus I actively go after during operations, almost like a little side quest on top of the main missions. The payoff is massive, because these skulls let you boost your weapon instantly, which makes your next runs faster, smoother, and more efficient overall. Okay, moving on, let's talk about how weapon XP and mastery really work. So one of the deeper systems in Space Marine 2 that a lot of people overlook is how weapon XP and mastery points actually function, and understanding this is key if you really want to optimize your progression. It's not just a case of equipping a weapon and letting it sit there. The game tracks the weapon experience in a few different ways that work together. Every weapon, whether it's the chainsword, the combat knife, the melter rifle, the power axe, every weapon has its own XP progression bar. So you can see it right here, okay? And that bar fills up when you actively use the weapon in operation missions. So you have your standard, your mastercrafted, your artificer, and your relic, all right? You don't get full progression just by bringing the weapon with you. You have to actually fire it, hit enemies, and finish the run before the XP is awarded. Once the bar fills up at one tier, the weapon is considered mastered at that level, and you immediately earn mastery points you can spend in that weapon's perk tree. Now you have to keep in mind that you have to not only unlock the weapon, but you're going to have to, so unfortunately I've unlocked all the tiers here, but when you fully, max out a certain tier, let's say Artificer for example, these will be able to purchase. So you purchase them, then you got to click them again or hold it down again to unlock the mastery for that specific defense type. Okay, and that's going to allow you to gain mastery points, which are then you're going to then go into the perk tree and use for specific weapon perks. Now again, if you don't unlock the mastery, you can't get the mastery points. So you have to keep in mind, when you fully unlock this, make sure that you buy it, purchase it, and click it again, hold it down, so that you unlock the mastery version again, which will give you the mastery point, which then you can go into the perk tree and buy whatever perk you want. So what a lot of players don't realize is that each weapon, like I said, guys, has multiple variants, and each of those variants has its own separate XP bar too. So if you just want, to master one version of the weapon, you'll get one mastery point. But if you master every version of that weapon, you can earn multiple mastery points for that same weapon type. Okay, spending those points unlocks perks that make the weapons stronger, all right? And gives you special abilities like bonus damage, better handling, reload speed, or ammo capacity. Perks that directly impact how well it performs in harder content. There's also a tier system, like I mentioned earlier, okay? Sorry, let's quickly go back in, okay? I did mention this earlier, but let's go over this a little further. You have your standard, you have your master crafted, you have your artificer, and you have your relic. And you also have heroic, but let's just stick to the first four, all right? As you earn XP with a weapon, you eventually unlock the ability to progress it to the next tier. But you can't actually unlock the next tier until you've also got the right armory data saved up. All right, so keep that in mind. Once you unlock the next tier, you gain access to better versions of that weapon, and those new variants then themselves have XP bars that you can level and master for even more mastery points, which again unlocks perk tree capabilities. A lot of players have found that this creates two concurrent goals: earning XP through repeated use and collecting the resources needed to unlock higher tiers. You can earn most of your mastery points naturally just by playing content with your chosen weapons. But if you find yourself stuck because you don't want to grind the same weapon variant over and over, you can use Armory data to instantly master craft a certain weapon. And honestly, guys, it saves a lot of time, okay? The trade-off is that using data this way doesn't give you XP toward progressing the next tier. It just gives you the point for the perk tree. But one final thing to mention, because this isn't always clear explained in the game, all right, is that the amount of mastery points you can earn from a single weapon depends on how many variants it has and how many tiers you unlock, okay? Some weapons have more versions than the others. Some variants have more options. So for example, for standard, you only have a balance. For Mastercrafted, you have both balance and block, and then when you get to Artificer and Relic, you get all three: fencing, balance, and block. Okay, but let's continue a little bit here, guys. So again, some weapons have more versions than others, and mastering every one of them is basically its own mini grind. But once you've done it, you have a lot more points to spend in that weapon's perk tree. Okay. And those perks make a big difference when you're running higher difficulty missions or trying to optimize builds. Okay, so in summary, using weapons, mastering their variants, and progressing through tiers all work together to give you mastery points that you spend on meaningful perks. All right, it's all made to use these perks. All of it is there to try to level up and get as many of these perks as possible. Obviously, up to a point, you can't get every single perk, but yeah. So actively engaging with this system by focusing on weapons you enjoy and combining XP farming with smart use of Armory data is one of the best ways to power up your arsenal and make future runs easier and more efficient. Now, to kind of leave you on something, guys, one thing I've learned is that leveling goes way faster when you're playing with a squad that knows what they're doing. Coordinated teams clear missions faster, take fewer hits, and are much better at protecting Gene-Seeds or collecting Armory data. Even small things like reducing downtime between missions or avoiding failed runs add up massively over the course of a grind. Efficiency isn't just about how well you fight, it's about how much time you're actually spending earning XP. With patch 12 on the horizon and the Tech Marine coming, now is the perfect time to make that efficiency count. Focus on leveling weapons that are likely to carry over, especially shared platforms like bolt and plasma weapons. That way, when the new class drops, you're not starting from scratch. You're already prepared with the right tools, the right perks, and honestly, guys, the right strategies to fully level up the Tech Marine or other classes you might not have leveled up yet, okay? So to sum it all up, run operations and siege for consistent XP, focus on high difficulty runs you can complete reliably, grab Gene-Seeds and Armory data whenever possible, and master your weapons strategically. Play efficiently with a coordinated team, prioritize the right gear, and guys, you'll be ready to hit max level and mastery points faster than most players. Appreciate all you guys watching. I cannot wait for the Tech Marine. I cannot wait for the new operation and all the new stuff coming out. But guys, if you made it up to this point, thank you so much for watching. If you want to, support the channel a little further, simply subscribe, like, comment, share, and if you want to support it even further, consider becoming a channel member. I have various tiers. Again, not a prerequisite. Simply sitting back, enjoying the the video or dropping into the stream and chatting with us is more than I ask for. All right, guys, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.